Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Chase with Jace. I'm your host, Jace Lejeune, LSU beat writer for Gridiron Football. Before we get started, I just want to say please subscribe. Please share out this video wherever you find us, whether you find us on Facebook or YouTube. We're actually trying to grow our followers, so if you are a proud supporter of the show, please subscribe. Make sure to like and share out the show. We appreciate your support, and we can't appreciate your support not only for LSU coverage, but obviously we focus a lot primarily on prep football, so our high school football coverage as well. So appreciate everybody that supported. If you haven't, go like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would really appreciate it. All right, guys, we're gonna go right into it. Last week, week two. LSU gets the win over Louisiana Tech by a final score of 23-7. We're going to go into it. After week one, you felt really good about where you were at. After a big win against Clemson, everybody's praising you. Everybody's giving you the pat on the back because you beat Clemson. You're able to, overcome that hurdle, right? Take that monkey off your back about not being able to win a season opener, and you finally did that. So that's the thing what Nick Saban always said was don't buy into the rat poison, right? So I think somebody also said, I don't know what coach said this, but dealing with success and hearing the noise, success is like perfume, right? You smell it, but you don't drink it. You don't inhale it in, right? So you can smell it, but you don't drink the perfume, right? That's kind of what, because it will kill you, and that's pretty much what success and positive noise will do. Now LSU classic trap game. You go after a big win, you play against Clemson. Looking ahead, you have one of your biggest rivalries that you play against, Florida, the next week. So it's your classic trap game. You know that you can get the job done even if you have your C minus D plus game. You can still beat Louisiana Tech. But unfortunately for LSU, that is what happened this past Saturday. They had their C minus game. I mean, especially on offense, and it was ugly. It was not the exciting, big plays what we've seen from LSU over the last couple of years. It wasn't like a 56-0 performance. It wasn't what Florida State did this past week or Tennessee did this past week, or even Ohio State against Grambling. It wasn't a pretty win. It was a win. It was what it was, and it was a rusty win. But it's like they say that you're going to take a ugly win over a pretty loss any single day. And we're going to talk. Obviously, there's a lot of takeaways about this game, and you can actually read about these takeaways even more on our website, gridironfootballusa.com. In the link below, I'll make sure to add the link. That way, you can check out what my biggest takeaways are from the LSU game, the LSU win over Louisiana Tech. So we're going to recap the game a little bit. We'll look ahead to Florida as you're watching this on a Wednesday night. So you're kind of like smack dab in the week. So LSU by this point is turning their full attention to the Florida Gators. While we take a little bit of a look back on the Louisiana Tech game, but we're also going to look forward to a big SEC matchup, the first SEC conference game of the year for LSU. So just like it's important to go 1-0 to start the season, it's really important if you want to go and compete for an SEC championship to go 1-0 in the league. And this is an opportunity for LSU to do that. So let's take a quick recap. And these are some of my biggest things that I've learned from the LSU win over Louisiana Tech. Here is the first thing that I've learned, and it's not really a big surprise from what a lot of people have seen, and that is the LSU defense is for real, and it's here to stay. I mean, last week I said I learned about the LSU defense; they're for real. What I learned in the Louisiana Tech game, even though it's an inferior opponent, this is what you expect when LSU plays Louisiana Tech. you expect them to blow them out and really shut them down, because this is a Louisiana Tech offense that has struggled through one game already, and that was against Southeastern. They got the win. So, Louisiana Tech was able to get the win 24-0, but one touchdown, 7 of those points came on a scoop and score. But regardless, the focus and attention to detail, even though we're going to go into the offense a little bit, the focus and attention to detail was especially strong on the defensive side of the football. What was really a pet peeve for a lot of LSU fans last year? That was giving up the big play, the busted coverage, the wide open receiver, lack of discipline, lack of focus. That is not what you've seen from the LSU defense. Now you're saying, Chase, well, they gave up a wide open touchdown at the very end of the game. True, that is true, but that was with your backup safety with Javian Toviano coming in the football game. So your starting defense, although a lot of new guys were playing together as one, and that's what I've really realized about this defense, that they're focused and they're willing to lift up what the offense lacked on Saturday. And you have a lot. I mean, last week I was talking about how there's so many new guys, and that's what's made me probably even more surprising how well it's worked for this LSU defense through only 2 games. That thing that makes it even more surprising, considering how much how dominant they really are. It seems like all these guys have been playing together for years, and yet this is only really their second game playing together. I mean, you have a lot of transfers. I mean, Jack Pyburn, Patrick Payton, Bernard Gooden, AJ Halsey. You have a true freshman starting in the lineup, and DJ Pickett. I mean, Tamarcus Cooley, Mansour Delane, like I mean, really your only constant as you really bring back is your linebacking crew, and that's with Harold Perkins, Whit Weeks, and West Weeks. I mean, that's really your really one constant from last year. But yet, all these guys have played so well together, and to me, veteran leadership and veteran players, no matter where they come from. I mean, Mansour Delane, veteran in the ACC. He's played big time college football. He's used to playing against Clemson. Tamarcus Cooley, same thing. He did so at NC State. I mean, Jack Pyburn played against LSU last year. He came from Florida. Uh, Patrick Payton's from Florida State. He played a couple years. He saw the highs of the highs when they were undefeated, won the ACC championship, and he saw the lows of the lows last year when they've only won 2 games. So these are all guys that played a lot of football. They've seen a lot of football, played with each other. And what's really great is that they're fast. I mean, sideline to sideline speed, you can see it. They're flying all over the football, making plays, whether it's the linebacking core, the defensive line, like everybody. I mean, the speed shows, and the speed is definitely there, which really hasn't been there in the previous couple of years. So that's really one thing I want to talk about. The next thing I want to talk about this defense is they're strong at every level. Talk about the defensive line. They've only given up 58 yards rushing against Louisiana Tech, and passing wise, you give up the 33-yard run. I mean, 33-yard pass for a touchdown late in the game, but Louisiana Tech didn't even throw for 100 yards. So you take that away, I mean, that's like 60 passing yards. Louisiana Tech had the ball, I think, 11 times. 9 of them were punts. One of them was, I believe, was the end of the half, and the other one was the lone touchdown. But when the first 8 possessions of the football game, you force Louisiana Tech to punt the football. I mean, and that is just very impressive by this LSU defense. And for them to be this focused, this prepared, flawless, I mean, I give the LSU defense an A. I mean, if it wasn't for, I mean, the offense is what's going to overshadow this. And it's a shame, because what Brian Kelly said about the team buying in to the 1-0 mindset, the mentality, I don't think the energy around the players, the team was flat, and the defense performance was not flat. I mean, they prepared Louisiana Tech like it was what Brian Kelly calls a nameless opponent. It showed. The preparation showed, and Blake Baker is looking better and better with calling the defense. It's all coming together on that side of the football, and they're this prepared and this motivated. I mean, it would have been easy for this LSU defense to have a letdown after all the praise, all the hype that they had against Clemson. It would have been easy to kind of, play a subpar effort, but really it was because of the defense that we probably avoided the upset, to be honest with you. I mean, with LSU's offense struggling like they did, you really appreciate the defense stepping up and making things hard for that Louisiana Tech offense. I know Louisiana Tech's offense has struggled, but you still have to go out there and perform, and LSU's defense did. And what that tells me, if they're focused, that same amount of focus and preparation and energy against an offense that struggled was the same as Clemson the week before. It shows you that this defense is going to keep you in games every single week, and that's going to be a really encouraging thing about that. The second thing I want to talk about from that game is really one of the guys that really stood out from his performance on the defensive side of the football. I mean, we talk a lot about his counterparts. We talk a lot about Harold Perkins. We talk about we talk about his brother, Whit Weeks, but I mean Wes Weeks, he's a dude too. So that's kind of the second thing I wanna go to here. You see here as that was a really cool moment in the football game. Really cool that both Whit and Wes were involved with the sack right there. So I mean that was a really cool moment for the both of them. And a lot of people forget about Wes Weeks. Wes Weeks probably had his best game. Or one of his best games as a Tiger. He had 10 tackles, a TFL. He led the team in that category in tackles. And right behind him, Devon Keys. Devon Keys was the second leading tackler in the football game with 9 stops. So your linebacking core, even though there's a lot of hype around Harold Perkins and Whit Weeks, you're 4 deep. You got 4 really good ones that have proven to play in the SEC. We talk about Wes Weeks, and Brian Kelly's been really so pleased with his maturity and how much he's prepared. He talks about how he's a really good player, smart player, heady player, just a really good overall leader for this team. And now Whit and Wes, they play the same position. They're brothers, but they are different kind of how they approach things, right? Whit is kind of like the fiery guy, passionate guy. He's a big rah-rah guy for this locker room, for this defense. But that's what, and he goes out flying around, making all kinds of plays and all these splash plays, and that makes you excited. Wes is a little bit more reserved. Just kind of like a workman-like, business-like mentality. He's not as flashy as Whit, but Wes is just a solid player in the middle of your defense. He's going to go and make a lot of tackles, make a lot of plays, and he sets the tone for them for the defense with his play and his preparation. So, yeah, that's just. I mean, I don't know if there's a better linebacker core in the country than what LSU has, and I think this game was a good reminder, saying, yeah, I mean, rightfully so. I mean, Whit Weeks, Harold Perkins, they should be praised. I mean, these are 2 All-American players. But you also got a net All-SEC type of player, caliber player in Wes Weeks as well. I mean, these 3 linebackers, be honest with you, I've seen some great linebacking play at LSU, but this might actually be one of the best in terms of an overall unit, overall group. And Blake Baker, he's a linebacker guy, right? I mean, he played linebacker at Tulane, so he knows how to coach that position. I mean, he really did a great job of developing Damone Clark. And when Damone Clark had the great season he had, the COVID year, or the 2021 season. So, yeah, he's been a really good piece of this defense. And he was one of those guys that, frankly, could have deserved the game ball. We're going to go into the guy that did get the game ball from Brian Kelly later on. But don't forget about Wes Weeks. He's a dude. He's a player. He's going to go and make a lot of big plays for LSU this year, and that's been the constant. Like I said, you had a lot of new pieces you added in the secondary, a lot of new pieces you added on the defensive line, but the linebacking core is what it's at because of those guys. So that's kind of like my second biggest takeaway is Wes weeks. I think he got overshadowed, overlooked by his younger brother. But Wes is a great player as well. Okay, so also we're going to talk about. We talked a little bit about the good. We're going to talk about maybe the not so good from Saturday as well. Garrett Nussmeier. Garrett Nussmeier. Let's just call it what it is. Right? It wasn't his sharpest game, and in fact, I mean, there was the Texas A&M game that we talked that he threw 3 interceptions, but that was kind of understandable for Garrett that game. I mean, obviously you don't want to throw 3 interceptions. I mean, and that's besides the point. But there was a lot of pressure on Garrett Nussmeier in that Texas A&M game because LSU could not run the football. And when Marcel Reed got in the football game, it changed the dynamics of the game. And when you can't run the football and you have a guy like Garrett Nussmeier that can make a lot of throws, it's going to make him a gunslinger. It's going to make him throw a lot of passes that he's going to force. I mean, he's got that Brett Favre mentality, like the play is never over. And and sometimes that's great because he has an NFL arm. He can make all the throws all over the football field, but sometimes it can lead into some questionable decisions. Well, he's really harping this offseason and getting better at that, minimizing the turnovers, minimizing the mistakes, and you saw that growth in Week 1 against Clemson. I thought he played phenomenal against the Clemson in that football game. I mean, he didn't make any bad decisions. When they needed him to make plays on third downs, he did. He was able to find his receivers. He had a calming presence really for the offense on the road in that environment. There's not a lot of quarterbacks in the country that would have handled that atmosphere as good as Garrett Nussmeier did. I really applaud him, and he played excellent against Clemson. Now, you thought, okay, there's kind of the same thing I was talking about, like the rat poison, like the perfume stuff I was talking about earlier. Garrett Nussmeier got a lot of Heisman talk at the beginning of the season and after that game, after that Week 1 game, he got a lot of Heisman talk. Now, how do you do with that noise? How do you do with that positive noise? And that you got your answer against Louisiana Tech. Now, that first throw of the game, which was the Barian Brown throw down the sidelines, I mean, we saw it from the press box. Barian Brown really had that Tech defender deep. I mean, he beat them deep by like 5 steps. And that wasn't really a bad read or anything. It was just and it was kind of, I think what scares me the most was he just underthrew the pass. And you don't really see Garrett Nussmeier, especially when you have those one-on-one opportunities. He doesn't miss those. He's one of the best deep ball throwers in the country, and he totally missed it. I mean, he underthrew Barian by a couple steps, and that allowed Louisiana Tech to pick off the pass. And I'm not sure that interception, that underthrow, if that really got in his head in that game. I mean, for the Louisiana Tech game, because he didn't play as bad as everybody says he did, but it's just something was off. I mean, you can tell the time. I'm not sure the timing was off. I asked Brian Kelly about the timing in the post game. You go back and watch the post game press conference. I did ask Coach Kelly about that, but he said it wasn't really necessarily the timing of anything, because I know he's working with a couple new receivers, but yeah, he just missed a couple of guys, and that was obviously one. Now, were there some plays that the receivers could have made? Yes. I mean, Aaron Anderson had a drop in the end zone, which should have been a touchdown. There was one. I mean, it was a tough play, but Kyle Parker could have caught a touchdown in the end zone. Yeah, there were some plays where I kind of scratched my head with Nussmeier. There was one where he was rolling to his left. He had about 15, 20 yards of running room that he could have ran for a first down easily, but decided to make the tough throw in the end zone when 2 guys were on the LSU receivers. So, yeah, I mean, was it a little off? Yes, it was. On kind of some of the time, he wasn't really as quick or as decisive with his decision making. Now, you do have to go and applaud what Louisiana Tech did on Saturday. They played it probably as good as you would play it because they weren't going to let Garrett Nussmeier throw 70-yard touchdown bombs on them all night with those receivers, with the speed. Because you have a lot of speed, you have a lot of playmakers. You have a lot of playmakers in Barry and Brown, like we talked about. We also have playmakers like Aaron Anderson and Trey Green, and there's a lot of playmakers out there. Chris Hilton, we still try and get him involved as well in the offense early in the season. But Louisiana Tech showed really a 3-3-5 look, and when you're in a 3-3-5 defense, you're going to make sure that you're not going to get beat deep. And I know this is one of those games that LSU wanted to get the deep ball going against Louisiana Tech. So Garrett Nussmeier was, maybe a little impatient, maybe held the ball on for too long because he wanted that deep passing play. They got the touchdown wiped off the board for Marion Brown against Clemson. So I think they're just hungry trying to get that big play instead of Nussmeier making the right read underneath the check down throw, the right read. And sometimes you get too aggressive in those games. And I think that kind of also played in it for Garrett because, with being the Heisman conversation, you want to stat pile. These are one of these stat piling games. You want a lot of touchdowns, a lot of yards. So you're thinking touchdown a lot of different times, big play. And, Louisiana Tech was making sure that wasn't going to happen. So you got to give a lot of credit to Tech's defense. And they are a great defense. And I think that's going to be something that's going to be overshadowed when we talk about it. But they pitched a shutout against Southeastern. You have some really good players there. Louisiana Tech has a linebacker who played at LSU and he's a conference defensive player of the year candidate. So they have a lot of really good players on that defensive side of the football, and it just wasn't the sharpest. It wasn't all on Garrett. Did Garrett have his best game? By no means. No, he did not. But it is what it is, and you're going to have off games every now and then. It happens to the best of them. Happens to the best players in college football. Look at 2019. Look at LSU, the greatest team in college football history. Joe Burrow, talk about the greatest season by a quarterback in college football history. He did not have his best game against Auburn, and it was kind of like a similar defense like what Auburn did, what Louisiana Tech did, a 3-3-5. Keep everything in front of you. Like you're not going to beat us deep. You're going to have to methodically, move the football down the field on us. And sometimes it gives quarterbacks fits, and it gave quarterbacks fits, gave Garrett Nussmeier fits on Saturday. So don't overreact to what was a subpar performance from Garrett Nussmeier. I wouldn't overreact to it just because it's early in the season. This is by no ways necessary a finished product by LSU offensively. This LSU offense is only going to get better. A lot of people were criticizing Joe Sloan and his play calling. Well, that is going to get better. The running game, we're going to talk a little bit about that and kind of like our next biggest takeaway. But, yeah, I would not you know what you have in Garrett Nussmeier. He showed you what kind of quarterback he's been in the past. So this isn't something like this is your first-year quarterback kind of going through the motions, making the second start, and this happens. This is a veteran quarterback in his fifth year of college football, his second year starting. So I do expect Garrett to bounce back, have a bounce-back game this week against Florida, but it happens when it happens. Actually, the last time LSU did play Louisiana Tech, it was 2018, and LSU didn't necessarily have a great outing against Louisiana Tech in 2018. So it is what it is. And that was a good 2018 football team that made a New Year's Six Bowl. So it is what it is. And you just have one of those off games. I thought that's just the timing was a little bit off with the receivers in Garrett. That's just a personal opinion. I know Brian Kelly says otherwise, but I think it was just a little bit off, and it's just trying to get more and more. There's so many times you can have those reps during practice. It's getting those reps during games. So, and I think this LSU passing offense is going to be just fine in the long run. The next takeaway, I mean, is it's one thing to win ugly against Louisiana Tech. It's another thing to lose two of your key pieces offensively for your first team unit in the game. Now, what happened with Braylon Moore is what happened with Braylon Moore, right? First play of the game. And we're going to go into that a little bit. What really sucks is losing Trades Green in a game where, even though he was close, you're going to win the football game. Because Louisiana Tech could not move the ball at all against LSU. You were going to win the football game. But to lose Trades Green, potentially for a long time, you don't know. We don't know just yet about what the severity is and how long he will miss. But to lose Trades Green when he's blocking, gets rolled underneath, that in the fourth quarter, when you thought that you wouldn't play him or need him in the fourth quarter, that is a tough blow, and that kind of leaves you with a bad taste in your mouth, with something like that. It does leave you the bad taste in your mouth. Now, Brian Kelly did update on these injuries on Monday. So, and it was really positive news because it certainly looked a lot worse for both of them, with them having first a knee brace for Trades Green, and then with Braylon Moore having the walking boot. But I knew it probably wasn't as serious for Braylon Moore because he was taking snaps on the sidelines before they did take him out. But Braylon Moore, besides Garrett Nussmeier, may be the most valuable player on this entire LSU offense. And that's a lot because you have a lot of dynamic playmakers, but that's the thing. At wide receiver, you're just so loaded. You're so gifted at the wide receiver position. You can afford to lose one or two guys. Offensive line, Braylon Moore is your key crucial piece. Now, I know they have DJ Chester. I know he's played center for a long time for this LSU offense. He's your only guy from last year that started like the majority of the season from an offensive line last year. I know he's played center before, but the production and just the confidence this group has overall with Braylon Moore in the lineup shows. I thought this was a confident offensive line against Clemson, against a really good defensive front. Now, were they running for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns? Were they totally dominating Clemson's defensive front? They were not, but they were getting just enough on the ground to kind of help things for Garrett Nussmeier and the passing game. They would get 3-4 yards, 5 yards, and it looked pretty decent. It looked just enough to take enough pressure off of Garrett Nussmeier to click with his receivers. And I think that's why it's most valuable for this LSU offense to run the football. If they can just run the football a little bit, then that will make so much difference for this passing offense, because it's hard to be one-dimensional offensively and just tell Garrett Nussmeier to do ask him to do the same thing he did last year. Like, hey, Garrett, sling the ball all over the football field. We can't run the football, throw it 60 times, and hopefully that's enough for us to win. That's really hard to ask for him to do that. So if he can run the football, that just makes it a lot easier. And you can tell that LSU just did not have the ability to run the football against Louisiana Tech. You did break 2 runs. And obviously, I won't show you one of them. Harlan Berry showed you why he was a 5-star, obviously, against Louisiana Tech with a big run. You hit big runs in that football game, a 48-yarder and a 43-yarder in that game. This is the run by Harlan Berry in Tiger Stadium. So Xavion Thomas had a 48-yard run, and you see Harlan Berry there with a 43-yard run, put LSU inside the 10-yard line, inside the red zone. But he couldn't consistently run the football. That was 2 runs out of 34. So I have a stat here about the LSU offense. So about Braylon Moore and the running game. You had, 128 yards rushing. Now, that was how many yards you had rushing on the ground against Louisiana Tech. You had 91 of those 128. 91 of those 128 came on those two runs that they broke free, that both Xavier and Harlem broke free. The other 32 runs, they ran the ball 34 times. The other 32 rushing attempts, LSU only gained 37 yards on the ground. You attempted 32 times. You run the football for 37 yards. And what makes me more nervous about this is that with Louisiana Tech's defense being kind of lighter in the box, you still weren't able to run the football effectively, and maybe average maybe a yard or two, if that, in the ground game. You just couldn't really get any push, any rhythm running the football. I'm not saying it's all on DJ Chester. I'm not really saying that. I'm saying Braylon Moore, he's just a valuable player, valuable piece of this offense because you know what you can do, what he can do. I mean, he's been a great player at Virginia Tech. He's a different skill set than DJ because DJ's a big guy. And Braylon Moore is your prototypical center. So he's athletic, he's smart, and he does what centers are supposed to do at the college and NFL level. And he's just a big piece for this offense. He's the SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week. And he is so valuable to this offense because I think it trickles down. When you have a center that you're really confident in, I think it gives the rest of the guys confidence. So having him back is huge for this LSU offense. I think he's one of the most valuable players on this entire football team. And the good news is that Braylon Moore's status is questionable for Saturday. If he can't go, DJ Chester will get to start at center. But it's going to be something that's going to be monitored this week. If he gets better with the injury, he's practicing today, and they're going to take more and more steps forward to see how good he's going to be. But if he's looking good, especially probably the telling point is probably today and tomorrow to see how efficient he's going to be, effective he's going to be, then you could play him, and then you could sit him out against Southeastern. So because LSU does play Florida, then next week you play Southeastern. So you can rest him technically against Southeastern. So we'll see how that injury goes and how effective he's going to be. But it looks like the good news is that it's not as serious, not only for Braylon, but for Trey'Dez Green. And, LSU's got a lot of different weapons. But Trey'Dez brings something to the table that the other receivers don't because he's 6'7" and just a matchup problem, nightmare in the red zone. And you have a lot of guys that are 50-50 ball catchers. He's about 70-30. He's about 80-20. That's how really effective he can be as a pass catcher. So, yeah, you need both those guys back healthy. And the good news is that with Trey'Dez spraining his MCL is not as serious as what they thought. We'll see how the week goes, but it's most likely he's not going to make the Florida game. So if he doesn't make the Florida game, you could also sit him out against Southeastern and hopefully get him back by the Ole Miss game. Is what maybe that's hopeful. Obviously, I'm not inside the locker room or anything, or I'm not a team doctor or anything, but that does make some sense what they could do with that. But we'll see, and I'm sure we'll get a better understanding of how those injuries go. But I do agree that these are really, both of those are key pieces, but especially Braylon Moore for this LSU offense moving forward. And then really, I just want to give a shout out to Barry and Brown as well. Barry and Brown was the SEC offensive player. Well, I say SEC, but he got the game ball. He got the game ball for Brian Kelly, and he deserved it. If there was one guy that really stepped up his play on the offensive side of the football, it was Barry Brown. He was great. He was somebody that say, hey, I'm on the play. I'm going to show what I got, and I'm going to show you what kind of playmaker I am. And in his first game in Tiger Stadium, and he balled out. I mean, he had almost 100 yards receiving. There were a couple times that he helped Garrett Nussmeier. He went up and made some plays, and I wish he would have gotten the touchdown as well. He could have gotten that touchdown early on if it wasn't underthrown by Nussmeier. But I mean, he's been 2 plays short, and you're kind of changing the conversation around Barron Brown because you take that touchdown away from him, which I still thought that was a touchdown against Clemson. You take that touchdown away from him, and yeah, another time where he had a chance to score a touchdown, passes underthrown by Nussmeier. But Barron Brown is going to be. It shows you why he was highly regarded, why he was another big transfer portal piece for the LSU Tigers. I mean, you look at it, 8 catches, 94 yards, and a 42-yard kickoff return. So, yeah, I mean, he looked really sharp for LSU, and just another guy that can make a play, for LSU, and it's going to be fun to see him. He's going to make a lot of big plays. I know they took away that touchdown against Clemson, but he's going to make a lot of big plays. I just saw it too many times during practice. He's still a guy to keep an eye out for. He's still a guy to really look at for LSU to make a lot of big plays and be that playmaker, that deep ball play threat. And I think he can be that guy. There's also Chris Hilton. I still believe in Chris Hilton as well. But at Barron Brown, this deep passing attack will click at some point. They just have too many weapons to do so. Just seeing them in practice every single time in fall camp, he is going to be a key guy in order for LSU to do that. So those are just some of my takeaways from the LSU Tech game. If you read more about it, you can go to our website. You can go to gridironfootballusa.com. Now moving on up. LSU is playing against Florida this Saturday coming up. So LSU's got Florida, the Florida Gators, big SEC rivalry. SEC Nation's going to be there. Did it lose a little bit of its luster because of what happened to Florida against South Florida with the Gators losing on an upset? It did. It has lost a little bit of luster. But there's one thing I can tell you about this LSU-Florida game is throw away the records, throw away the rankings, throw away the fact that LSU's number 3 in the country and Florida's coming off an upset loss to South Florida at home. These two teams hate each other. It's probably the most heated rivalry LSU has in terms of the stuff that's happened over the years. It's been back and forth. I think Florida holds the slight edge all time in this rivalry, but LSU has pretty much dominated the last couple of matchups. I mean, they did lose to Florida last year, 27-16 at Florida, and that was one of those games that really saved Billy Napier getting his job back. Now, with the loss to South Florida, he's back in the same position that he was in last year for most of last year. But you know this is going to be a desperate team. This is still a scary Florida team because they blew it at home. Everybody's going to say how bad they are and, what a terrible loss, how they were unprepared. And, they blew it against South Florida. Billy Napier's going to get fired. The schedule's only going to get harder. It's going to be a rough stretch of the season coming up for Florida. They're hearing all that. And now that noise can only make you do one or two things. It can make you just run away or attack it head on. Like that the saying goes, when you back a fighter in the corner in the arena, that's a dangerous fighter because you're running out of options and they're going to do whatever is necessary to get out of themselves out of that corner. So that makes them really dangerous. And this is a dangerous opponent for LSU because this is a desperate team. This is a desperate team for the LSU Tigers. And for the Florida Gators, this is a desperate team for Florida. So LSU, you got to be ready for that. Now, I think LSU will have a chip on their shoulders as well because they knew the offense wasn't up to par. After hearing all the great stuff from week 1, there's a lot of people doubting LSU now, like how good this LSU football team really is because, You also know that Clemson did struggle in week 2 against Troy. They fell. They were losing 16-0 at halftime to Troy. So with that fact, people are saying, is LSU even that good after they struggled against Louisiana Tech? So this is really a statement game for LSU. This is another chance to show that they are a real player, a real contender for the SEC championship. This game is at home. It is in Tiger Stadium. It's going to be at night. Tiger Stadium's going to be rocking. And they got like their warm-up game against Louisiana Tech where the fans got to celebrate, get together after the Clemson win. It was a big celebration, and then it was a nice, relaxing Saturday, knowing that you're going to win the football game. But it's different. I mean, Florida's coming into town, and this is a different opponent, a desperate team coming off a loss. This rivalry has seen a lot of wild games over the years. They're still a dangerous team. DJ Lagway is a talented quarterback. They got a really talented running game. The defense is going to be really good for Florida, and that could be a problem with this LSU offensive line and how it looked against Louisiana Tech. There's some questions about LSU. How does LSU's offense look against Florida? Does Garrett Nussmeier bounce back? Does the defense continue to play at the high standard that they've been playing over the last couple of weeks? I see this being a boxing match. I really do. I think this is going to be kind of an ugly game. It's going to be your old throwback defensive struggle. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. But, obviously going to read my predictions at gridironfootballusa.com. But this is going to be a tough game. Billy Napier, there's a lot of negative noise around him if he's going to keep his job. And so, this team is ready to go back to the football field. They're anxious to get back on the football field on Saturday in Tiger Stadium. LSU, this is another golden opportunity. You beat Florida. You start off the SEC slate 1-0. Then you have another chance to kind of rest because the following week you have Southeastern. You're going to win that football game, so you have an opportunity to go 4-0 going to on the road against Ole Miss. So that is a big game for LSU. To start off really good, have a 4-0 record this season is big considering that you didn't have that the previous couple of years. So the Florida game is going to be big for LSU. And if you go 4-0, I think the rest of the schedule sets up pretty favorably for you the rest of the way. Obviously, the question is going to be, is Brandon Moore going to play in the football game? Is Trey Green going to be available? Those are all going to be questions we probably won't know until kickoff happens at around 6:45 on Saturday night. That's going to be questions too. Will DJ Lagway and the Florida offense, will they bounce back against a really stiff defense in front of a crowd that's going to be, ruckus at Tiger Stadium? So a lot of questions. It's going to be a great game to figure out for LSU. Kind of figure out both these two teams. Both these two teams, even though LSU won last week, kind of upset, kind of hungry to go back on the football field, ready to prove a statement. Florida, for obvious reasons, their backs are against the wall. How did they respond? So that is going to be interesting to see with both LSU and Florida moving forward. So this should be a great one in Tiger Stadium. It should be really a fun one. LSU trying to continue the winning streak here early in the season, set themselves as a college football playoff contender, while Florida trying to get their season back on track. And really a lot of Florida fans, a lot of Florida people saying this is a must-win to get back the trust of Billy Napier. So we'll see what happens. We'll have an in-depth season. We'll have an in-depth game preview about the Florida game on our website at gridironfootballusa.com. Thank y'all guys for watching. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure to go to our website once again, gridironfootballusa.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And then, please follow us on Facebook and all social media channels. I can't thank y'all enough. I will check back with y'all with the Chase with Jace on Sunday for a recap of the Florida game. Hopefully a Florida victory for the LSU Tigers. We got also a lot of great shows from our high school content. We also have the Player of the Week show coming up on Thursday. That will be streamed at 5 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. We have Ball in the Boot at 11 o'clock at night after all the games have been concluded on our Facebook page as well. And it'll be also uploaded the next day on our YouTube channel. So, guys, thank y'all for watching. Please make sure to support us, as always, at GridironFootballUSA.com. We'll see what happens this Saturday as the LSU Tigers will take on the Florida Gators. This is Jace Return from Gridiron Football. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed this recent episode of The Chase with Jace.